Hello, good afternoon guys, Forristicat here once more. Today I want to be talking about the final season of Breaking Bad, specifically the last episode. Also I want to be talking about Homeland Season 3 premiere, which premiered like last night in the States. And a little bit of GTA 5 online, I guess. So first and foremost, Breaking Bad. I think what I really want to say in this video is that the disappointing thing for me about this season of Breaking Bad is that I thought it would have benefited from pushing the Heisenberg character to his uttermost sort of extreme. Now we had glimpses of Heisenberg sort of at his worst, or at his best, however way you want to look at it. And the favourite scenes, for me at least, is when there's guys like going pure evil. The most famous scenes are the ones where he says I'm the one who knocks, or I'm the danger, or of course the infamous "Say My Name" scene. And I think that what I really expected, although given like the first sort of couple of episodes of the second half of the season, I knew the direction that Vince was going in. I mean, obviously Walter got his cancer back. I knew that the series was going to go sort of in a different direction from there. But it would have been fun to sort of, the scene I had in my mind was sort of Walter with two AK-47s, one in each hand if that's even possible, and just storming into some sort of drug dealer's den and saying, do you forget who I am? Say my name. I'm Heisenberg, and just like blasting people, left, right, headshots sort of everywhere, and just literally having like a bloodbath. That is what I wanted to see, and I sort of got like a little bit of a feeling from the scene where he sets up I guess because he was so incapacitated physically, he had to go the psychological route and outsmart Lydia with the ricin in the stevia crap that she always drinks, or the setting up of this basically car Terminator, which just like a spraying machine gun just kills all these guys randomly. And I think that that's fair enough, that given his cancer coming back, that's the only thing he could actually do. But it would have been nice to see, and although fair enough, he would have to restructure the story a little bit. But just having him, you got him at the start, this. I mean, you've heard him say a million times it's a story of Mr. Chips to this Scarface crazy guy, and just the whole journey sort of in between. I think that if they would have pushed his extreme a little bit more further out there, it would have contrasted with actually how he actually began story-wise, and it would have made for a much more sort of shocking sort of contrast is the best way to put it, where he actually started from, thinking wow, look at him now, he's this crazy drug dealer that's even worse and more psychotic than before. And I think that the most shocking scene was when just before the episode before Hank died, how he's in the car sort of he's covering his head, there's gunfire sort of everywhere. That sort of action scene intensity is something that I expected, but I want to see something even greater than that. And in that moment, I always got bullets hailing all around him, and you think back to how he was in the first couple of seasons. I mean, it really does sort of show this sort of hole that he dug himself into, and much like The Shield, you make your own bed, and he made his own bed and made a couple of crap choices. But I think that given these glimpses of this Heisenberg character, and this whole hat and the whole infamy of this alter ego that he had, I would have loved to have seen it developed a little bit more, and just seeing him go all out. And I know this sounds bad, but I would have loved to have seen more characters died, and we would have been depressed as hell. But just seeing I guess the fulfillment of Mike's quotation, Walter's a time bomb ticking away, and Mike didn't want to be there for the boom. And what I really expected was some sort of payoff for that. I mean, Vince has always played on words, so I thought that literally Walter was somehow going to explode something and then die, or be a suicide bomber or something crazy like that. So we did get action sort of in the final season, the final episode of this whole series. But that was by a machine gun, and just seeing Walt cough and stuff like that, and the cancer coming back. Many people predicted it, but what I would have liked to have experienced is something a little bit more unpredictable than that, and that is seeing Heisenberg return, and he's even more psychotic than before, and he really is sort of pushing things to the limit. Like I said, just him going full out crazy, a gun in each hand, shooting people left, right, and center, even maybe killing innocent people. And everyone was sort of on the Walter bandwagon and sort of got off at different times. And like I mentioned before, it's interesting sort of, I guess, litmus test or whatever for how your own sort of personal boundaries are being crossed. And I guess the sooner you get off the Walter bandwagon, I guess the lower your threshold is for doing what is right for your family. But even then, in this episode, Walter did say that he did this for his enjoyment above all else. And I think that is the direction where Vince actually took this final season of Breaking Bad, which is he actually wanted to toy with our emotions, which is a great sort of ploy for, not really ploy, but a great I guess storytelling devices. You're playing with your emotions. And as I mentioned on previous videos, the best stories are the ones where you end up hating a character you love, loving a character you hate, or seeing a situation which you thought was terrible in a good light, or seeing a good situation which you thought was ultimately good actually turned out to be not so good after all. This whole sort of again contrast of emotions and different sort of expectations being sort of changed, and the rug being pulled out from underneath us is what sort of made the show interesting. I mean, just like a Clockwork Orange, how the main character in Clockwork Orange. First of all, you're like, do I hate this guy? I hate this guy. And then you're like, oh, actually, I like this guy. Or like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have hated him because now he's in this terrible situation. Then right at the end, he's being like fed like steaks and eggy weggies like to his face. And it's like, wow, I actually hate this guy. I mean, that's sort of toying with emotions and not really sort of being 100% sure of what to feel. Is a direction that Vince Gilligan ultimately took the season of Breaking Bad, which is that like you just play with your emotions of this Walter White character, and at the end of the day, thinking did Walt have good intentions for doing this? Where did he cross the line? What I've done differently, or is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Did he start off as a good guy and become a bad guy, or was he always like a bad guy and had glimpses of good in between his storyline? And that sort of, I guess, uncertainty. I mean, I guess it's pretty certain that Walt is overall a bad guy, but these sort of like glimmers of like different sort of characterizations of Walt is what sort of made the show interesting overall. But nevertheless, personally, in my personal opinion, I was hanging out for that really crazy action sequence of Walt's just going crazy, and of course for that to happen, Walt would have to have his cancer not return, and that is what ultimately happened in the story. But to wrap it up, overall, yes, I mean, it was interesting. It was great. I mean, are there some flawed episodes? Yes, there are. I mean, people that are saying this is like a masterpiece or whatever. It's not, because like there are episodes in there and a couple of plot contrivances which I previously mentioned, such as Jesse assuming that guy there is was during that initial meetup at the square or whatever. How Jesse assumes that guy is there for Walt, and realistically, like Walt wouldn't be sort of that stupid to sort of put that bodyguard there, but Jesse believed that. So again, shoving the plot towards that direction where Jesse's like, I know exactly how to get him, and so Vince is like, well, how do I get to that stage? Well, obviously he's gonna have to mistake this bodyguard, and that's why I'm not sort of bagging on. It's easy for me to sort of put out these YouTube videos and be like, oh yes, that should have happened, this should have happened. I mean, if I write a story myself, I know I'm not gonna have any sort of easier time doing it. These guys are doing it professionally, but in my head, like from my understanding, as someone who has never written much in his life, I understand that to get from point A to point B, things have to happen, and if they have a vision of point B, and I guess he's even demonstrating this in these sort of like flash forwards and stuff, a certain amount of things have to happen to get from point A to point B, and as a result, you need to have these things happen one way or the other. And the only difference between a good TV show and a bad TV show is whether or not those things happen organically, naturally, if one thing leads to another, which actually makes sense, versus things actually happen purely to further the plot, which actually wouldn't logically happen. Now of course this can't happen like 100% of the time. I mean, what's the greatest TV show of all time? I mean, The Sopranos, The West Wing, The Wire, whatever. These are things which like the plot like never felt forced. It just sort of evolved naturally, just like life. And of course that's why we call these masterpieces, because life, this is getting sort of I guess philosophy, into philosophy or whatever, is a masterpiece, because like a day is neither good or bad. It is what it is. And when you watch a TV show and you sort of self-forget sort of where you are and sort of escape from the reality we have here, that is an indication that you're watching a good TV show and you're being sucked into it, because this reality is suspended, and as far as you're concerned, the reality you're watching on TV is a new reality. And of course Dexter is like the counter example of that, like oh, we need this to happen, oh okay, well let's just have this scene there, oh but that one makes sense because Hannah hates Deborah, oh we'll just shove it in there anyway. That's a disaster zone. Anyway, On to Homeland. I think Homeland Season 3 was a little bit of a disappointment. I mean, to be honest, I think that the main sort of plot point at the moment is, Carrie, as intelligent as she is, as much as she's feeling guilt, as much as she could potentially prevent terrorist attacks, I think that the sort of main characterization points of her, like being this crazy, like sex addicted, off the wall, tequila drinking, bipolar, reckless, emotional basket case, like CIA, agency woman or whatever. It's sort of being reintroduced again, and if fair enough, if that's being used as a reminder to us that this is the character who she is, she hasn't changed or whatever. Fair enough, but I'd like to see sort of her character, which it's a very interesting character, having her in a situation where yes, if she can harness her sort of chaos into preventing the chaos of terrorist attacks, then that's interesting, because normally you wouldn't think that this crazy character, in terms of emotional instability, can actually prevent these things. What else? I think that the whole political intrigue of like the decisions that I guess the upper tiers of responsibility in terms of government, that choices have to be made, and sometimes they're the wrong ones, and literally if this is any sort of accurate representation of what actually happens, that you may have to make a call within 30 seconds, and that might mean the difference between like a kid accidentally being shot or a whole sort of town being taken out. And all of this is sort of done in the name of like national homeland security. So I think that it sort of does sort of paint a different picture of the decisions that some people have to make, and I guess that hopefully that's why they're getting paid millions of dollars, just like I guess actors and actresses or whatever, but to actually save lives ultimately. And I think that being easy enough to blame government. I heard that the US government got shut down today or whatever. I think that does sort of like, I guess, ground us back to reality. Not all decisions have to be sort of made which are easy, and some decisions are hard. I guess much like people will like I said, like being that TV show sucks or that game sucks. Of course, it's much harder doing and making decisions, whether it be fandom or making hard decisions in terms of stopping a terrorist attack. But I think that's what makes TV shows interesting, and I think that's what's actually going to drive Homeland forward, provide that these areas are going to new sort of plot points, and of course showing the drama within people's homes, the family life of the I forgot the terrorist guy, what was his name, the Brody family, of course, versus of course the actual political sort of much more national level threat. I think it's interesting that you got these like potential terrorist attacks about to happen, but you got these own sort of personal family conflicts and attacks happening within the home. I think that any TV show such as Mad Men or whatever, where you can just have a scene which is not like all out crazy action, but just have as much drama as you could have having like an action sequence, but inside like a home or a room. Those are the sort of really good, I guess, drama series, because they're sort of done purely from characterization and seeing the conflicts between these characters. And much like GTA, like you set up good characters, there's conflicts between these characters, and you really want to see where the show's going to go next, because these characters have boundaries which can't really be crossed. And it's how they sort of work these sort of their differences and accept their similarities and put them all together to actually get a certain outcome. And of course, that's what creates the drama, because people are going to have different ideas, and that's where the story progresses one way or another, hopefully preventing more terrorist attacks. And of course, Damian Lewis and Nicholas Brody actually not being shown up at all in this episode. Of course, that's a tease, so I guess maybe next episode we'll see something. But nevertheless, I want to see this new threat. I want to see where the sort of story goes. Obviously, it's going to be something to do with the girl. Like I said, like whenever you see a TV show, don't analyze it, have fun watching, but if you want to sort of, I guess, get a little bit analytical, ask yourself, what does this scene say about this character, or what does this scene do to drive the plot forward? So obviously they're introducing some drama with the girl, seeing her mother and grandmother talk about her suicide, which means she's going to run away with this guy that she's taking topless photos with or whatever, which is going to eventuate into her trying to recontact her father and causing more drama, blah 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 blah. So Homeland, of course I'm going to keep on watching, because that's a scene where he's like a Splinter Cell sort of agent. Remind me of Splinter Cell, like accidentally killing that kid, tragic, shooting people in the head, ridiculous, and just being like this sneaky sort of stealthy dude. Very, very awesome indeed. Just to wrap this up, GTA 5 I think gets released online sort of tonight, I think in a couple of hours, so keen to check that out. As I'm reading online, these sort of first few days or whatever are going to be like much like the Halo 3, I think, beta or whatever. Like they're just going to sort of use player heat maps or sort of tags to see what players are actually doing within the game, sort of seeing what things are more popular, what sort of areas are sort of more highly attractive to players or more heavily populated or whatever. But ultimately, it's sneaky. But from hearing all these microtransactions that Rockstar are apparently going to release, I think that ultimately it's going to be just a way to make more money. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, that's what they want, more money, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be pretty obvious. Like, you meet up online. Do you want to do this mission? What do I have to do? Just pay $5 into your credit account or whatever, and then you can download this mission. Let's do it. It's awesome. It's going to be like a very quick cash cow for Rockstar to actually milk. So yeah, of course I'm going to check that out. Should be great. So there we go. Grand Theft Auto 5 online coming out tonight. Homeland Season 3, a little bit disappointed. Breaking Bad, still a pretty damn good TV show, but not the ending I personally was after. Thanks guys, Forristicat out.